Hey guys, so this video is going to be a mixture of gameplay and also kind of like a guide slash impressions video of what I think sniping is like in Battlefield 5. I think this game has incredible potential to be one of the best Battlefield games. It just needs a few tweaks here and there for certain things that I think might be a little bit just frustrating. So first of all, let's talk about what I actually like about the game. I've spoke quite critically of the game so far, so I think I'll start on the positives. My favourite change from BF1 to 5 is they've got rid of the sweet spot mechanic. This means that you can actually have consistent fights over range with other snipers. You won't just randomly get one shot or randomly get the one shot. It means that you actually have to aim for the head. It's much more skillful and less random. Suppression is now only visual, which means that if you're being shot at, your shot should still go where you're aiming. So there's actually a few times where I turn the situation around where someone's already started firing at me, but I managed to shoot them in the face before they can kill me. The bullet speed in Battlefield 5 seems pretty similar to the way it is in BF1, so you don't really have to get used to a new bullet speed. However, bullet drop seems to have been increased, as far as they've told us. A lot of people from the previous video were asking if scope glint was still in the game. It is still there, it's just slightly less noticeable, and the angle from which you can see it is slightly reduced. Weirdly enough, I actually like the scope glint mechanic because it stops players who are sitting back from basically hiding in a certain spot and you aren't able to see them. It stops players that are camping from having an advantage too much. Assist counts as kill is now 60 damage plus, and pretty much the minimum damage that you really do is usually around 60, so almost every single shot you hit that an enemy dies from, you'll end up getting the kill for it. I think this is to encourage snipers to always go for the body shot, even if they don't get the kill. They're pretty much guaranteed to get the assist. The only issue with it is that it inflates the KD ratio, but it's not such a bad thing as long as it makes players feel like they're achieving something. One thing I do like about the new attrition system is the limited ammo. You'll see in this clip, I actually run out of ammo in my sniper rifle pretty quickly, and the only way I can get ammo back is by running up to players' bodies and picking up the little ammo bags they have on them. This stops players from being overly defensive. If you want to be camping at the back of the map sniping, even if your accuracy is 50%, you've only got 15 rounds, so you can only get maybe 5 or 6 kills before you're eventually going to have to move from your position and find a supply box or a support player. Being able to pick up ammo off enemies' bodies is one of my favourite new things of Battlefield 5. However, I'd also like them to extend it so that you can actually pick up medical supplies off maybe medics or other players, because the health regen system definitely needs tweaking, but we'll get into that later. Something that's new to BF5 is that in every battlefield, whenever you've been moving and trying to shoot with a sniper, you never know whether your shot's going to be accurate or not. Now, they've added in a blur system, so that when your scope is slightly blurry, you know that you're moving and your shot will be slightly inaccurate. As soon as your scope becomes completely clear, you know that your shot's going to be 100% accurate. The inaccuracy bonus whilst moving has actually been in the game for quite a while, but you've actually never known that it's been there. It's always just been something that you learn to deal with. You always just take a couple of milliseconds before you take a shot while standing still, but now you've got visual feedback for that. Now, another re-addition for BF5 is the spawn beacon. Now, this was in previous Battlefields, and in this one, I believe you spawn directly on the beacon as opposed to paratrooping in. The spawn beacon gives the scout class a reason to push in behind enemy lines and get up close and personal, so they can put the beacon down and allow their whole squad to flank behind enemy lines. It seems like they're really putting an emphasis on trying to give classes as much useful features as possible, so they don't just sit back and do nothing. Still talking about gadgets, it seems that they've changed the flare gun quite a bit since Battlefield 1. The flare will only reveal players on the minimap whilst it's airborne, so when you fire it in the air, it has a small parachute and descends slowly to the ground until it hits the ground and stops working. Not only that, but when you fire the flare in the air, it actually deploys very quickly. It's very difficult to get a flare further than your player model on the minimap. And again, this is promoting scout players to be much more aggressive in close quarters than they usually would be. They don't want players to be sitting back, firing flares from halfway across the map to give their team support on the minimap. They have to be close by in order to get people on the minimap. The headshot damage multiplier in Battlefield 5 has been increased from previous Battlefields. Whilst this won't affect your sniper rifle, which should one-shot headshot people anyway, this will affect your close quarters combat with pistols. It also seems like the head hitbox may be similar to how it was in Battlefield 4, which means it's slightly larger. So headshots are slightly easier to hit, and they do more damage. So now we've talked about the basic changes of the sniper class, and mainly what I like. Let's talk about some things that I think may need a little bit of tweaking. And first and foremost, I think the most important thing to talk about is the health regen system. Now, you've probably noticed in the previous clips, and in clips in this video, that your health doesn't naturally regen to 100. Once your health drops below a certain threshold, you only gain back health to a certain point. As you can see in this clip, I only have 42 health, and there's no way for me to get my health back. Not only this, but they've also made it so that when you pick up an enemy's kit, you no longer take the tools from their kit. So if I was to kill a medic with 42 health and pick up their kit, I wouldn't be able to give myself health from their class. I would still be a sniper, I would just have their weapon. So whilst I kind of agree with the attrition system, I don't like the way the health regen system works. Players have been playing Battlefield for almost 10 years whilst always having natural health regen to 100. My issue with it is that I feel that it doesn't actually add anything to the gameplay. All it does is just make it frustrating when you finally do die to one bullet after running around for 5 minutes with no health. I think the way they should tweak this is make it so the minimum that your health should regen to is 80. So still have a reason that players will need to go to a medic or supply station to get their health back up to full, but don't punish them to the point of not being able to play the game aggressively because they'll die instantly if they do so. Something that ties in with this is that players have no reason not to hang around the supply boxes near flags. So what happens is, if you don't have a medic or support, you just hang around near the supply box and just keep grabbing health and ammo whenever you need it. As for gun mechanics, it seems that the scoping in of the sniper has been slowed down from previous Battlefields. Switching from your sniper to your secondary also takes a little bit longer. So when you're in close quarters battle and you manage to hit a guy with a quick scope and then try and switch to your pistol, you'll often die before you've even pulled your pistol out. It seems that they've also increased reload cycles, so you only put in one bullet at a time and you don't reload the entire magazine. This could be different for rifles that they put in the game in future, but it's not such a bad change. It stops snipers from basically being able to fire relentlessly like the SMLE from BF1. If you don't know how to already, you're going to have to learn how to reload cancel. So when you put in a couple of rounds and you need to fight, switch from one weapon to another back to your primary again, and then you'll be able to shoot with 2 rounds instead of reloading the entire magazine. Another thing to think about is that the damage drop-off of the sniper rifles, even at close range, is still pretty significant. If you're not getting headshots, you barely ever do over 70 damage. However, so many players are running around on like 60 health because they haven't regened that you actually get a lot of one-shot kills even without the sweet spot system. Overall visibility of enemy players is also quite an issue at the moment. There's a lot of detail on the maps. You see the snow. Whilst it looks really nice, it can be quite distracting when you're trying to look for player outlines. Not only that, but they've also removed 3D spotting. The way it works now is that when you spot a player, it just shows their last known location, but it doesn't put a Dorito over their head. This means that when you're sniping from slightly longer ranges, you can't rely on just aiming at the Dorito and knowing where their head is. A lot of these changes to sniping and scouts in general is really pushing the squad play and team play and stopping players from playing too defensively. I'm actually quite a big fan of some of the changes that make sniping more challenging, because in BF1, everyone played scout because it was so easy to get one-shot kills all the time. You never really had to worry about ammo. You could basically always just sit back and just wait for people to run into your scope. The main thing I do have an issue with is the health regen system. I think it's still too harsh for players that don't have a dedicated squad. But what you have to remember is this is still really early gameplay. There's plenty of time to make changes, there's plenty of time for me to give feedback about what I think should be changed, and maybe they'll take it on board, but there's no guarantees. Sniping in Battlefield 5 is a little bit more challenging, but much more rewarding. I think with a few tweaks, it'll feel perfect. I think that this game has amazing potential to be an awesome Battlefield game. If you learned something from this video, make sure to leave a like, and let me know in the comments if you agree with anything that I've said in this video. Maybe you disagree with me, but just let me know why you think that. Either way, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll be replying to your comments over the next week. See you in the next one.